As a member of the foster care community, I can vouch that it is often overlooked. It is a crucial community to be aware of because of how many children's lives it has impacted. From the language we speak to our perspective on the world, we have been thoroughly influenced by this community. We communicate through the stories we tell of these experiences, and we explain to those outside the discourse what it is to be a part of this community and what it's like to have it determine so many factors of our lives, even as we exit the system. Leanna's story is one that perfectly portrays all the aspects of who a person can become despite where they come from. This isn't about just one person's story, however. It's about all of us who have endured the same hardships and have overcome them. It's about sharing our stories with others so they can understand why our community is important. What is the purpose, from your perspective of foster parents, of this community?
So I think the purpose is twofold, right? You have the basic purpose, which is you have kids that need fundamentals of housing and food and a place to stay. And you're fulfilling them as foster parents, whether for respite or for emergency care, you're providing them with those basic needs. But it's also an opportunity, like Stan said, to provide them with showing them what emotional stability looks like and what a stable family looks like, and with affection.
How has this changed your own ways of communicating in general?
I wouldn't really have like anything to compare it to. Like I couldn't really answer that question, to be honest. Just because I'm living my life the way I'm living it, and I see it as normal. And so I don't have anything to compare to it being abnormal or being, I guess, different from anybody else, because that's just, how I grew up. That's just how I was raised. Like, yeah.
What behaviors and norms do you observe of the members that differ from others apart from it?
I think fundamentally you see different behaviors and norms because of the sensitivity to trauma. And so there's a lot of, for instance, the norms are you really don't talk about their birth families, or you're very careful in the way that you talk about their birth families because they fundamentally don't. Can sometimes be a triggered conversation. So the norms and the behaviors are a little bit different than like if I was interacting with another kid, where I'd be maybe trying to find different topics that they would want to talk about with their mom and dad or something along those lines. So that's a fundamental difference.
I think another one, or maybe another aspect, is that you don't know what kind of disrupted household these kids came from. And you don't know what kind of structure they had at all, if they had none, or if they did have some kind of weird family patterns or weird family structures. So when you're taking care of them for the weekend or they're in your home, you're very careful to tell them, okay, like this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to bed at this time, and today we're going to go bowling, and we're going to go to the park, we're going to have breakfast, and you kind of try and set a foundation for them. And it's maybe not a norm of the community, but you don't know what norms they lack that other kids might have. So you're trying to help instill that for them.
How do you communicate differently to those outside of the community so they better understand your situation and circumstance that makes you a part of that community?
I feel like I would communicate them the same way. Like, I obviously have more connections with people within my community who have experienced the same things, just because they understand what I've gone through. But I would still explain and communicate to other people around me the same way I would explain or communicate towards the people in my community, just because that's the way I know how to explain it.
And what about how they interact with you?
So I think sometimes there's some hesitation because they've seen a lot of different things, a lot of different people. From what I've seen, though, they've been very accepting of the kindness that's shown to them.
I think they also have the same level of superficiality a lot of times until you can break through some of that barriers. But those barriers are built up with a significant amount of superficiality.
How do you relate to your community and with others belonging to it?
Yeah, most of my community, whenever I talk to people who I know who have been in the foster care system and things like that, they have experienced the same things that I've gone through whenever I was in foster care. So we have like that same connection and that same experience because we know what each other went through and we felt exactly the same whenever we were going through those certain situations. So it's different communicating with them than it is with other people because they haven't gone through it, they haven't experienced it, so they wouldn't know what I was feeling. So I communicate and connect with them differently because they know what I was feeling within the time that it happened.
What kind of influence do foster parents have on the language picked up by the children?
I think the stronger influence is actually the state. So the language, the fact that each of the individual kids understand what, for instance, respite means, or what a visitation means, or what a worker means. That's part of their lexicon that most kids don't have. That distinguishes them a lot from other kids. There's also the constant moving around. And what is a foster parent? What and who are mom and dad? How does that work in that activity? So they develop their own set of understanding of the language that is used around them. And they're also very sensitive to those changes in language, especially when it comes to legal activities.
How do you reflect on your experience as a member of this community?
I don't know. I don't really tell much people about it. Like, the only people I tell about it are, like, people I truly trust. Like, I just opened up about it, like, this year to the people that I trusted. Like, I don't really... It's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that, like, I would love to just, like, share to, like, everybody, you know? Like, it's something that's personal to me.
What are some ways of coping to your situational difference as compared to a typical childhood life?
Music definitely helped me a lot through everything that I had gone through. Finding people who have experienced the same things as me helped a lot, especially because I can talk to that person about, like, literally everything that I've gone through, and they could, you know, have an actual conversation with me and we could connect more. So finding people who have experienced the same things really helped a lot. Food definitely. Food got me through a lot. And art definitely got me through a lot. Yeah.
How does this relate to the community and its purpose?
I don't know. I feel like when you connect with someone through the same community, it not only helps you understand and realize that you're not the only one, but it helps them understand that they're not the only one that's, like, gone through this and experienced all of it. So, like, it helps the community by, like, showing people that they're not singled out in any way, shape, or form, and that other people have gone through those experiences too, and they're not alone.
How do your experiences affect your language addiction? Like, are you more careful with what you speak around certain people? Or...
Yeah, definitely. So, I guess it just depends on the person, because with my background, like, and everything that I've gone through, I've learned a lot of tricks about who I can trust and the people I can, like, surround myself with. And so if I don't get the same vibe off of somebody and they're, like, you know, not trustworthy in my opinion, I won't, like, open up or talk to them about anything, and I'll just be really cautious, I guess. Cautious about what I'm saying because I don't want to offend them and their moral views, but I'm not going to state my moral views or anything like that. Compared to people who I, like, trust and would relate to, I would open up more to them and talk to them more freely, I guess, just because they would understand.
Tell me about the first time we connected through our realization that we belong to the same discourse community. Where did this conversation go?
Honestly, I don't think it was a one-time conversation. I definitely think it was like a conversation. Is that a thing? Multi-conversation? It was definitely within the course of a couple of conversations. Like when I first had told you that I was in the foster care system, you were like, oh my gosh, me too, like no way. And then, you know, you would ask me things about like what had happened, and like I would ask you things about what had happened to you. But like I didn't fully tell you anything like within the first conversation. Like it was a progressive thing that I had to open up to you.
What kind of bonds are formed when you go through some of the same situations that many of us have with another member of this community? You went through so much with your sister. Can you tell me how this commonality changed your relationship with her and how you communicate with her?
So I definitely keep the people who have gone through the same experiences as me closer than I would with people who like haven't gone through the same like experiences. Like with you, you're one of the most close people in my life just because you get me so much to the point where like nobody else could get me the same way that you get me, if that makes sense. So you're definitely like a major part in my life, and I like couldn't let you leave my life even if you tried. Like you're not leaving, okay? And with people who have been through the same things, you know, like I kind of keep them closer than I would most people. With my sister, she's the most important person in my life, like the most important person in my life. She's like my rock, like she's everything to me. I can't explain to you how much she means to me. She's like my everything. And she's gone through like the same things as I have. She wasn't in the foster care system as long, but like she still went through that pain and the struggles that we had to go through. And seeing that she's my she's my sister, like having that bond and trust with her just because she's the only person who's ever been there for me forever, if that makes sense. Like within her whole life, she's the only person that's been there for me forever. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Perfect.